What's cracking, y'all? It's Kurt the Car Guy back at you again. Sorry for the extra noise. I gotta do the intro in front of the heater because it's a little cold out here today again. This video is being recorded on the same day as my last one, just a couple hours later. I just had a couple other little tidbits I wanted to share with you guys about motorcycle and small engine ignition systems in general. They're pretty freaking basic. I mean, your basic ignition coil has a power and a ground lead. When the circuit is completed, the coil is charged, and when the ground circuit is disconnected, it forces power to go out of the secondary winding, which is the top post on your coil usually. You can have one plug wire coming out of them, you could have two, you could just have a center post on the top. I mean, all ignition coils are pretty much the same when they're two-wire stuff for smaller engines. When you start getting into more modern, like car engines and stuff like that, where they got 3 or sometimes even 4 wires per ignition coil, those ones are a little bit more complicated because they're monitored by a computer. But when it's really, really basic electronic ignition like this, I mean, it's pretty much no different than using points, but with just a little basic brain computer in between them. But anyways, let's get on the Suzuki engine. I'll show you some examples here. So right down here, underneath this dual overhead cam plaque, underneath here there's 2 Hall effect sensors. There's a primary and a backup. So basically it reads a little reluctor that's on the crank here, and every time that reluctor passes the sensor, it tells the ignition module, which is that little black box over there, to fire the ignition coil. And there's 2 coils on here, 2 plugs per cylinder. This is kind of similar to a GM waste spark ignition system, where you got 1 coil firing 2 cylinders. One of them will be on the exhaust stroke and the other one will be on the compression stroke. So the 2 outboard cylinders are done by 1 coil, the 2 inboard cylinders are done by another coil. I can't remember the firing order of this motor, but most 4-cylinder engines are like 1-3-4-2 or 1-4-3-2, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert. My old Mazda was a 4-cylinder. It had a really weird firing order, so I just got used to that. But anyways, so the way ignition coils work is, see, I got a red and a black on that guy there, and I got some liquid electrical tape over the connectors just so they don't ground out. But these coils actually came off a Honda CB750, and the original ones that were on this bike are right here. These are it. These old Nip and Denza ones. These wires here, they're just all dry rotted, and one of these coils wasn't firing properly, so just put those over there. And I figured, why not rob some good NGKs with replaceable spark plug wires? So got those and got them for free too, so can't beat that. But anyways, so just like I said, basically, the way you can test these guys is you hook the red side to power. It really doesn't matter which way you hook them up. But you just hook one side to power and then drag the other one across the ground. And by the way, you can get these weather pack connectors at like AutoZone and stuff like that too. Work really great for these ignition coils and stuff like that. But when you drag it across the ground, you're basically interrupting the ground, and that's what allows the ignition coil to send a spark out to the end of the spark plug wire. And now, show off some more of my one-handed mechanicness. I got an old plug out of this engine because I actually spent some money and got new plugs in this engine, believe it or not. So always keep your spares though, because you never know when you're going to need them. Just give me a second, I'll get this all plumbed up here. Alright, so I got that plug just unhooked from number 4 cylinder over here. Got it sitting on the valve cover over here. And now, I mean, this is a hodgepodge of wiring. There's 1.5 million butt connectors in this harness. I don't even know how this thing still runs and charges. But anyways, get our lights on the gauge cluster there, neutral light, so we're in neutral, so that guy's not going to wing around and cut my crank sensor wiring in half. And if I can do this all at one time here, reach over, hit my loser switch. Now, I know it was really hard to see there on camera, but it actually was sparking. I wasn't really able to make a good ground there. But, yeah, basically, that's all you do to test ignition coils. And I just had the engine running right there because it was easier for me to do with one hand on the camera. Well, I'll just plug this guy back in here. There we go. Push it down until you hear the click. And, yeah, that's basically ignition coils in a nutshell. You have basically just an on-off switch that turns the power or ground, it depends on what system you're working on, and basically just turns the power and ground off. And another way you can test it is, let's see if I can find the end of my test light here. There she is. If I can get her on there. Figures trying to demonstrate and can't demonstrate at the moment. Oh, that's because I don't have the power turned on, stupid. All right, power's on now. So we see we got light there. And now, if you see we got light there. Now, if I can rig this up here. All right, sorry, I'm kind of using all four of my hands here, but see when I crank it. You see how that light was flashing? That means that sensor's working. When the light's flashing, that means it's turning the signal on and off to the coil, therefore giving you spark. So yeah, that's how ignition systems work in a nutshell, basically. It's basically either just points or an ignition module turning on and off the ground at a certain time to give you the spark that you need. So that's your useless knowledge of the day. Hope you all are staying healthy out there with the Rona. Slam back a cup of hot black silk and enjoy life, I say. Well, like I said, that's your useless knowledge for the day. It's Kurt the Car Guy signing off. Y'all stay healthy out there.